Welcome back to Verbose Electronics. I'm Lee, and I would like to thank you so much for being here, particularly if you slogged through that video from Tuesday. A quick word about how I make videos. I generally have the project planned out. I know what I'm going to do, what the steps are. I record the clips as I go, and then once the project is completed, put those clips together, and bang, there's a video. Any video that I release that has got the word chaos in the title, you can be assured that things did not go according to plan, and this Tuesday's video was a perfect example of that. It was supposed to be such a simple thing, and it turned out to be such a mess. The purpose of this video today is a status report on that machine. That machine is right in front of me now. It's booted into High Sierra. I'm recording this clip on it. I will be editing this video on it, as I actually edited Tuesdays. Alright, so I want to go through some of what happened to get us to this position from where I left things Tuesday when the darn thing wouldn't boot at all. The first thing I want to do, I have a short clip for you to see. There's going to be a lot of talking head in this video, by the way. But I have a short clip that I want you to see of an attempt to boot into High Sierra. I have activated verbose mode, and you're going to see exactly where the verbose mode readout stalls and it fails almost every time. There were a couple of times where it stalled before that. There were a couple of times when it got at least slightly past that. But 9 times out of 10, it stalled right there. So let's have a look at that. So please stay tuned. Alright, this is where it hangs. It goes slowly up to this point, but this of course is verbose mode in the attempt to boot up High Sierra. It will hang right here, waiting for DSMOS. And it's not going to move. Stay tuned. Alright, so that's where it would stall out. And it wasn't ever going to boot up. Yet it had booted up on my iMac when connected via USB 3. And it had booted up when I put the disk into my other Mac Pro 2008, or Mac Pro 3,1B as I identified in the network. The next 3 clips are going to be the comparison, because something was obviously very wrong from the fact that it was so difficult to boot into the installer even, and the installation process was so horribly slow. Even when it did succeed, it was horribly slow. It happened overnight. Alright, so the next 3 clips are going to be my repeating the experiment, this time on Mac Pro 3,1B, to do an install on that machine and the differences therein. Stay tuned. Okay, I don't really know what's going on. I can say though that here on my second 3,1, this thing booted up with no problem at all. In terms of getting into the installer. So the problems of getting into the installer were all related to the other machine. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this zips right along. Alright, so what I am going to do, this crucial test SSD, I'm going to do a clean install of High Sierra on that. and set it up with the data from the Plex Store LCAT and see if maybe that'll boot on the other machine. Stay tuned. Well, this is close to done. Night and day difference. I mean, the installer on this machine booted up very quickly. The installation very smooth. None of that struggling that went on the other 3,1. Again, what's causing it, I really don't know. But stay tuned. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Crucial Test SSD is available as an option in Boot Manager now. Now, of course, if we were to go ahead and try to boot that, we would just get operation prohibited, since it's unsupported. So we've got to boot back into the installer, which should go much more quickly than what I was doing on the other machine. Apply the patches and go from there. Stay tuned. Okay, well, here we are. Incredibly smooth installation. Now, I'm going to have to spend some time figuring out what the heck it is about the other machine that's causing these issues. First thing I'm going to try, and we'll see, I'm going to take the drives back out of this machine, put them back in the original machine, and see if this will boot up. I'm not expecting it to. But who knows? The fact that the installation went so much more smoothly instead of all those hoops I had to jump through would tell us something. So we shall see what that brings about. Alright, at this point, I pretty much stopped any idea of doing a video at that point. I just wanted to figure out what was wrong with the machine. So yes, I took the drive sleds out of 3,1B and put them back into 3,1A, and yeah, it would boot into LCAT, but it would not boot into High Sierra. Same exact problems. So, to internet search we go, where I learned many things about that rather cryptic message waiting for DSMOS. Evidently, this is an abbreviation for Don't Steal Macintosh Operating System. And it's a check built in to the boot process to try to stop Hackintoshers. It examines the kernel extensions or text files that are a lot of what make the operating system work. In creating Hackintoshes, machines designed to boot into Mac OS that were not Apple hardware, substitute text files, I guess, are used quite a bit. But it got stuck. Now, looking at the Hackintosh sites, unfortunately, the fixes all relate to non-Apple hardware. This is not a Hackintosh. This is an Apple machine. Unsupported in this OS, but it is an Apple machine. However, one of the things I gleaned from reading about the Hackintoshers' efforts was that this is sometimes caused by graphics. Well, the two machines did have two different graphics cards, NVIDIA Quadro in the 3,1B, and what's in there now is an NVIDIA GeForce GT 680. So I swapped them. No difference. I tried various other graphics cards, and I have a lot of graphics cards. I must have put a half dozen different graphics cards into that machine. Didn't work. Alright, so it was not graphics. So I started searching particularly for this problem coming up with High Sierra and the DOS-Dude1 patcher, and I did find a couple of entries. One, which led me down a rabbit hole, unfortunately, indicated that this could be caused by an incorrect Wi-Fi card. So I took out the Wi-Fi card. You know, if there's no Wi-Fi card in there, it can't be the incorrect card. And macOS will certainly install without a Wi-Fi card in the machine. No difference. Same exact thing, waiting for DSMOS. Incidentally, with 2008 Mac Pros, getting at the Wi-Fi card is a lot easier than on the 2010s. Taking the Wi-Fi card out is very easy. Putting it back in is another situation. You know, I don't know why they have to use those little tiny antenna connectors that are just so hard to get situated. No, I finally got it, and you know, the Wi-Fi is back anyway. I may eventually try upgrading Wi-Fi on this machine. Who knows? That'll be a future video, if it does ever happen. All right, so wasn't graphics, wasn't Wi-Fi. Finally, you know, I happened across an old good old Mac Rumors forums, where someone was talking exactly about a 2008 Mac Pro trying to use the DOS Dude 1 patcher, and somebody made a suggestion. The next clip will indicate what the result of that suggestion was. And despite the fact that I do my wind-up in there, I'll be back with an addendum just after that. So stay tuned. I'll be darned. I fixed it. So here we are with the 2 by 3.2 gigahertz quad cores, total of 8. Here's what the problem was, believe it or not. High Sierra did not like the 64 gigabytes of RAM. So I swapped the RAM trays from one machine to the other. And it worked. It booted right up. Now, one of the things I've done here, I installed NVIDIA GeForce GTX 680 with 4 gigs of video RAM, which should make a difference. But it's working. Unbelievable. Well, on that note, be good to other people. Other people need it and deserve it. You've been good to me. Ha ha ha! Be good to yourselves. Everything has to start from our being good to ourselves. We can make this world a better place. It isn't yet. So please take very, very good and careful care in these difficult times. Well, yeah, onwards and upwards with this machine, I guess. So we'll be back fairly soon with an upgrade to Mojave. We'll be back fairly soon after that with an upgrade to Catalina. And we're going from there. And the saga of the 2010 Mac Pros and Big Sur still ahead of us. All that GeForce stuff that I've got in the pipeline that I'm ready to do, but kind of sidetracked here in the Intel world. Well, until those things come out, this has been Broken Electronics. And thus ended 3 days of chaos indeed. I would say that I had been tearing my hair out, but we'll let that pass. Why El Capitan and Sierra would both run fine with 64 gigabytes and High Sierra wouldn't accept it is beyond me. Now, I've done some experimenting. I got High Sierra to boot with both 48 and 56 gigabytes of RAM installed. However, the system would crash after using it maybe half an hour, 20 minutes. Uh, at 32, it just runs and runs and runs. Now, I probably have to play around with exactly where I put the RAM on the two riser cards. That can probably make a difference. We'll have to see. Well, on the other hand, it's running very nicely with 32. So, I mean, I'm just really, really, really glad to see it running at this point. So, now we're going to follow the... Oh, yeah, other things that I did, of course, try to put the 64 gigabytes into the other machine, the 3,1B. Same thing. It's not a problem of the machine or of the riser cards or anything. I swapped the riser cards around. I did all kinds of things. High Sierra just doesn't like the 64 gig of RAM. Darndest thing. It'll be curious. Once I go through the week or two or whatever working with High Sierra, which I'm rather enjoying, by the way, and move on to Mojave, then we'll see, will Mojave take the 64? I certainly hope so. I paid good money for that stuff. In any event, I've already done the closing, which really basically has just, let's all be good people, and let's try to make the world a better place. Yeah, all kinds of other stuff coming up. Since it isn't a better place yet, do take very good and careful care. And we'll be back with more on this machine. I'm sure more on the 2010 Mac Pro Big Sur experiment, and a whole bunch of other things too. Until such time, back on our regular schedule next week. This has been Broken Electronics.